And we're back with the war tactics. Talk about the Space Marine Firestorm Assault Force. Like always, we'll talk about the army rules for the Gits. We'll talk about some of the key units, and then we'll end it off with the combinations that matter most for the biggest Gits to watch out for. Like always, whoa! Let's get it here, you Gits. So, starting off with the army rules.
All right, so there's an aggressive detachment. They want to be up and close to you. So all guns become assault, and they get +1 strength within 12 inches.
Yeah, that's going to be important for what they're actually trying to get off offensively. But for Orks, we look at that as, well, that's a weird key threshold range you want to be in there, buddy. Not necessarily worried about that. Next, we're going to look at their enhancements, which I don't find to be too impressive, to be honest. Overall, with this whole detachment, I don't find it to be over impressive. So, starting off with the first enhancement, +3 to the melee strength of an infantry model only.
It's not great, but one thing to note is Power Fists and Thunder Hammers will be strength 11.
Okay.
And for your T10 models like Maz,
yeah, I mean,
on threes,
it does
not
get
that
over
he's
that.
concerned. Not too
No, but I
concerned,
mean, even on the casual level, right? For mech dreads, for def dreads, for kill rigs, whatever it may be, right? We're not always thinking about just the meta guys. We know a lot of people out here just play in general. What if your friend owns salamanders, right? You guys would be aware of this, and even then, not because it's threatening. All right, the next one is
-1 damage.
-1 damage, but it's in particular to the flamers and meltas. Orcs don't even have multi-damage flamers, and
I believe.
I'm sorry. No, actually, they do reduce all damage
damage.
from 1. Sorry, I was looking at the next roll over.
Yeah.
The next rule over is reduces all to 1 damage
Yes.
from flamers and meltas, which I was thinking into tribute to Orts. I mean, you can't consider our custom mega blasters meltas. So what are you talking about? Yeah, you'll reduce damage on everything else, which does matter. But in the way Orcs just commit combat by attrition, you're going to put enough wounds in becoming damage 1 anyways into Space Marines. So
Right.
I'm not really worried about that. Feel No Pain would be more interesting. But this next one
is key. Tacticus model only, so that's essentially the Primaris models. Ignore all modifiers other than saves.
So speaking of your salamander friend, this is the one he's going to take every time, because this matters most against our artist nails. Just makes a unit of boys become devastated by a unit of Infernus Marines, we'll say, or aggressors. For the most part, I love my blobs of boys. Some people still want to run them. You're getting demolished by this. This makes you actually worried with your Squighog boys and their bad armor saves as well. So this is their best enhancement for sure.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
And if for Orcs it matters because for the most part with Maz, when you're looking at the kind of units that we're going to present here, in the back of your head, you're going to say Maz is going to tank all of this. It's true, but there are ways that they can actually try to throttle on Maz. So let's keep going on that. The next one is each turn, the player gets to turn a hit roll or a save roll into a automatic 6. So that's after the roll.
Right. This one's all right. The only thing I can see is if you're overwatching with a Melta and you need that 6 for a vehicle or something.
I mean, for points value, it is what it is. I mean, the fact that aggressors don't have great armor saves, in general, you can try to save them if you're putting this on the secondary unit of that. But it really comes down to what unit is getting this enhancement built into them, because the other one's are already taken by their best unit, most likely.
Yeah, and are you going to put this on your list expecting to use it?
I mean, would you put this on like a Judiciar with his Blade Guard veteran? I mean, you can automatically try to save them, I guess. I mean, you can automatically they can do stuff, but whatever.
I suppose.
Next is either way, it's what it sounds good on paper, but where are they actually going to plug it? And the Orcs, do we really care? I mean, nah, not really. The next is Armor of Contempt. Like always, it matters a lot to us, but what's key here, guys, is a lot of the units that people want to take on this list don't have a tulip armor save. They really don't. So are they even going to be using this strat that often? This is why I'm not really too worried about this detachment as a whole, because once we make contact with them, their units aren't built to withstand the kind of offensive potential an Orc puts forward. They're more looking for trading with gun lines and getting close to them and melting them as they close the distance. With us, once the distance is closed, they're in trouble, right? So keep in mind when they're trying to pop these strats, the way that we're trying to take that in and then have our waves continuing on, right? The next one is, speaking of, the next strat.
Yeah, for 1 CP, the shooting enemy. I'm sorry, you worded this.
Oh, Spirit of Funny, right?
So when you shoot at the enemy, the transport, Anything inside is allowed to disembark and shoot back at you.
I worded that funny, guys. I wrote that, but yes, this matters because if you, for happen's sake, use flash kits, mech guns, Big Mac with shock attack guns, stuff like that. Say you're having fun with chalutas, whatever it may be. There is a chance those hell blasters are gonna pop out and start getting you up, and you're like, and for 1 CP, that's annoying because for the most part, as an orc player, you're like, I don't really shoot. But you got to keep in mind, we do always tell you, make sure you do get some of your shooting off anyways. And a lot of people will have supplementary shots, and you want to soften up a transport, maybe pop it so you can charge the guys inside of it. This is a weird way that an enemy can actually activate and exchange with you in a way that you aren't controlling your rate of attrition. And a unit of Hellblasters getting off and shooting does pretty much devastate most orc units, right? You're not popping artisanals when it's an out of phase kind of sequence thing happening. So yeah, either way, so we can continue. What was the next one?
It's your lance ability, but this one's a little bit different because it also applies to shooting, but it has to be the nearest enemy unit.
Yes, it has to be the nearest enemy unit when you're shooting. And when you're fighting, you can activate it, but obviously you're already targeting the nearest enemy unit anyways. Exactly. This is a big deal because they already have the ability to ignore wound modifiers. So for orcs, look at this now compounding, right? Normally, Space Marine weapons and guns are at a dumb strength that we're not too worried about. It's strength 4, then it becomes strength 5. Sometimes we're worried about it. This pushes these weapons to the next strength threshold. Then they're ignoring a wound modifier, and then they're stacking a possible wound enhancement on there. Plus, remember, all of these strats, 5 out of the 6 of these strats can be used for free by the captain.
Right.
Right. So they're going to be using these all the time. They're going to be generating CP all the time, and they're going to be looking to do this all the time. So all of these are going to be options for them every phase that you have to keep in mind. So +1 to wound is going to be one of those things like how we are as orc players is Unbridled Carnage or Artist Nails, where we're trying to pop that every phase, like popping here, fighting back here, popping here, popping here. That's how they're going to be, and that matters to us because they're already kind of getting +1 to wound with their built-in ability, at least when shooting.
And I just want to clarify this rule. It's a little worse than when we first phrased it as. For the shooting, it's only within 6 inches for the +1 wound.
Oh, yeah, it has to be target. Oh, oops, and I rolled that too. Really? I thought it was 12. Oops, I missed
6
that one.
inches.
6. So even worse than we really thought, guys. And think about it with these aggressors. I mean, in the Infernus Marines, how are they really closing that distance into us? This becomes Space Marines running too many transports, too many kind of units that aren't really playing the mission anymore and getting bogged down by us and all of our multiple activations. So from all the list of detachment we've covered so far, this one's probably the least impactful to orcs, to be honest, as much as I actually personally liked salamanders because they're green. The next, but is the actually devastating, is important is the next one. Enemy units can embark into transports within 6 at the end of the fight phase. So that one's another one that's oops. I mean, that's for like if they're against another shooting army, right? If they're trying to get guns off, reactivate, go into a transport, then move from that transport and then disembark again and shoot again. That's something they could do, but not against an orc army, right? For the most part, anything like that is not trying to re-engage and do these kind of shenanigans. So to us, that's not really that impactful, to be honest.
Yeah, you'd prefer them be outside that transport anyway.
So
and it's also wholly within 6 inches.
Yeah, so
it's even harder.
Which when we get into the key units that matter, guys, is why we pick these key units as well. And this is one of those things where if the person is playing this, you might not even have to go that hard as an orc player because you might be crumping them anyways. But what is impactful is our 2 CP strat because this can be used for free.
This is the best one.
This is used for free too.
Torrent weapons become devastating wounds.
Ouch. 11, 9, 10 plus devastating wounds going off. They're automatically devastating a lot of your impactful units. Like knobs are just getting automatically picked up when they really do want to go off, which to me, I think knobs are impactful in this matchup because you demolish those 3 wounds infantry, those 3 wound units when you get into combat with them too. So this is where they can just freely trade off with you, especially when they have their ignore wound modifier thing too. Right. They're just picking up everything.
Yeah, this is scary on that aggressor.
I'm just making this strat's awesome for them. I mean, it's cool that it's free, but this is also probably why so many of their rules are limited because of this strat. Because this would make the game ridiculous. Because their whole detachment is kind of revolving around this one strat, to be honest, if we're being real. And transports. And then speaking of transports, the last strat is
1 unit can disembark from a transport and get +1 to hit when shooting the closest target within 12.
I mean, I guess I mean, you already have Oath, you know, right? I'm saying, and
Yeah.
you already have other strats you're trying to pop off. So it is what it is. I don't feel that being too impactful for us and Orc players. So let's move on to the key units that gets to look out for. So say you know this matchup is coming up. These are the units that we assume you're going to have to kind of look up as data sheets, even if you don't see the players list. Always ask for their list, but if you don't, these are units you can look for, right? So one, Eradicators. Why is that? Because most of these Space Marine vehicles, as in the repulsors or impulsors, have odd low unit capacity. So Eradicators are one of those good units, and they don't tag too much to the tax cost of utilizing that TRATS capacity. So an Eradicator unit being plugged right in there makes too much sense for them. So yeah, that's something you're going to see all the time. And they do have a decent toughness with that T6 being Gravis Marines as well, right? But what's important is the aggressors.
The aggressors, yeah, especially with the Gravis Captain to get access to those free strats.
Gravis Captain is slept on, I think, all the time, especially as Orc players. I mean, he has damage, I believe we were talking about,
Yes,
right?
he has damage on his own.
Gravis Marine is just slept on as a whole, and you're going to see him all the time. This is where he gets woken up and really takes advantage of his abilities as a captain. Aggressors are really kind of their multi-tool here, and that's why you'll see some of the units that we picked as the Greensons to get stuck in are picked as well, because aggressors sadly can be easily kind of countered as Orc players, is the way we kind of see it happening too, right? But another thing is Hellblasters. Hellblasters, because when they're trying to activate these transport capabilities, sometimes they want to do it at a further range, and everybody likes a good AP, good strength. This army is sitting at a weird strength of like 4 or 5, whatever, with its flamers that it's trying to get off. So they will look into other ways to increase their strength as well. So, and +1 strength on a Hellblasters do get them over certain thresholds as well.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really, really cool. Repulsors, Reynolds?
Yeah, repulsors, and repulsors are a good transport for the previous 3 units that we talked about. They can all go on there. They also have their own special rule where if you charge a unit within, is it 3 or 6? I think 3 inches.
Mm-hmm.
If that unit's within 3 inches of the repulsor and you charge that unit, it can go back in the repulsor.
Oh, and that's why that actually matters with your aggressors and your Hellblasters for the most part. They're trying to re-embark and just kind of get their damage off and then jump back in there and be really annoying. So, eesh, right? Eesh.
And then rhinos, they're just a cheap transport for Space Marines.
They're honestly just cheap for what they are, and some people just own that, right? Some people just don't have a bunch of repulsors, and hey, they're just going to run rhinos. So something to keep in mind that might end up on there, because transports are vital to this detachment. Dreadnoughts of all shapes and sizes. Some people might take a Brutalis because they want to enjoy the Meltas. Some people might take the Redemptors because they're well-rounded and they get the assault keyword, so they get to run around and shoot while they close a distance to get stuck in.
Which is big because they got that D6 +1 blast plasma gun.
Yeah.
So the extra movement helps.
It really does, because Space Marines are looking to use every phase in this game, as in they're trying to shoot and fight, and sometimes the Redemptor Dreadnoughts gets left behind while everybody else is moving because he's just worried about shooting, and this allows them to really utilize him. So I think they end up often on lists, but so do the Lancers, maybe a Reaper or a Ball Predator, some kind of also tank chassis, right?
Yeah, exactly. Lancers and Ball Predators, your anti-tank solution. The Reaper, anti-infantry solution with that Gatling gun. It gets sustained hits too if it targets infantry. That is dev wounds and twin link with 12 shots.
Yep, and they're going to enjoy mouths on negative assault too, so they get to move that little bit faster, get those line of sight, get a little bit better strength when they do close down the distance as well. But you have some melee potential here with the Blade Guard / Judiciar. They're really going to enjoy that +1 to wound as well.
Right, Blade Guard, just a durable unit. They get to reroll hit rolls innately if they choose so, hit rolls of 1 if they choose so. And the Judiciar, he can precision out your character. Solid stat line at 5 attacks, strength 7, -2 damage. If you give him the +3 strength, now you're talking about strength 10 or strength 10 weapon.
And I think these Infernus Marines are going to be the kind of throwaway. I'm going to throw these cheap garbage 10-man units and Infernus Marines into you if I can. Pop that free strat if I can, or maybe this is where I spend my CP because they don't want to throw away a captain, and use the Infernus Marines as kind of their throwaway throttling kind of unit. That's where I see the Infernus Marines getting their most utility here as an Orc player. So when you see them on the list, know that chances are, because of their cheap point cost, this is what he's probably going to throw into you to his first line flamer lines, before he throws his aggressors into you, most likely, right? So there's something to keep in mind. I'm not sure if you see a captain stuck onto them.
Probably not.
To me, I think they're just that cheaper. Hey, we get these flamers into you quicker, put them in transports because they could be 5-man units, whatever. Activate their assault. Maybe they'll use for a strat. I mean, scoring potential, whatever it may be.
And then with the detachment rule, those strength 5 flamers become strength 6.
And I mean,
there's a key threshold to
let's
pass against
go
orcs.
for them. That's great for orcs. I don't really appreciate seeing that, so forgive them. Then we have Land Raider Redeemers. Land Raider Redeemers, that's another threshold that they get over as well. Typically, that Land Raider Redeemer Flamer isn't really wounding Squig Hog Boys great. This puts it over to that nice threshold where it puts them and wounding them on 4s instead. So they appreciate that. Also because they want to close it. This is an army that's trying to close the distance on you, and hold that middle of the table and say, hey, as you start moving and reacting, we're going to overwatch you. We're going to reliably kill what you want to kill. We're going to react and jump out to our transports and make you try to pop them. And then when you pop them, we're sitting outside of them and we're killing you in our reaction. So that's why you see a lot of transport redundancy on here and not too many options to actually their infantry, because their plan's pretty straightforward. They're spending it on some kind of transport and then they're disembarking where they want, hopefully getting what they think of as the initiative off on you, and then running back into the transports as they can, hopefully. Right. But in response for us, the greenskins for us to get stuck in, or in this case, don't allow to get stuck in, the trucks, right? So starting off right away, trucks matter and transports in the 40k at all as a whole matter, right? But for orcs specifically, they matter a lot for us. And if something is going to get in disembark, guys, make sure you're staging it in a place that matters. As in, you're not going to just get shot for being there in response. You can't shoot the truck and then be like, all right, I'm going to have my gun shoot him, and then you're in the open now, so I'm going to fill that lane up. No, you have to be intelligent about that. But it's really important that you don't allow them to disembark in this matchup, because considering they have the potential for assault, they're trying to just get through those buildings with most of these infantry kind of units and flame all of these units away pretty reliably. So trucks matter in most of the games, but in this one, I think more times than not, because they're picking up their units very reliably. Orcs already have bad armor saves. They're ignoring your cover saves. They're going to get over that toughness that we typically have with their threat. They're because you guys already seen they have that marker threshold that they keep getting over. So you can't really let them even overwatch really like a Beast Snagger Boy unit. A Beast Snagger Boy unit might lose all 10 Beast Snagger Boys. And be lost with just the beast balls. Like, oh, where my boys at? So trucks really matter here where you're staging them. And if you have to get blown up, make sure they're disembarking in a safe spot, because the last thing you want to do is on your turn activate and get flamed. So then we have Grotz/Zodrog Wartsnagger. Why is that? Because you might need to actually get up early. Maybe you call a wall and you realize, hey, this wall is actually a defensive wall. And with that extra movement you get from the wall with Zod, you actually might surround or stop a whole line of transports or tanks from positioning. If you just decide, hey, don't want to have to deal with you getting out and then re-embarking because of the terrain, how the terrain is set up here. Instead, I'm going to bog you down and slow you down, right? That allows us to position where we want to and set our staging up so that when we do get out in charge, we're staging out through buildings and such like that. So the Grotz and Zod allow us to control the deep striking as well, but also stopping them from really placing all their transports and their gun lines where they want them.
That'd be very key on move blocking the transport with the aggressors in as well.
Yeah, even if you don't charge them, just stand there. Just stand there and make a horseshoe around it, whatever. The next thing is War Biker / Death Killer War Trike. Put that 4 up. Feel no pain on the Death Killer War Trike. He's obnoxious to kill. Still at that 6 threshold, so he can still be wounded on 4s and such, but they will have to commit to him as that first line right in front of them. He's going to take their transports and go, this whole lane, you ain't moving down, no matter what shenanigans you got here, boys. So they're not going to appreciate that, because most of their guns are actually going to be invested in their transports / maybe their dreadnoughts or maybe a couple lancers. So they're not going to have the optimal weapons turn 1 unless they disembark to really deal with the Death Killer War Trike. So that's something to just hold them back, fill up lanes, start scoring right away. So Death Killer War Trike slept on, at least for early games, or just put bikers on their own. Even bikers on their own can work in similar ways. Take that first kind of soak up that first flamer activation and interactions. But speaking of Death Killer War Trikes, in a similar way, you might actually appreciate and enjoy having that keyword of fly in this case too. With they're the big models trying to move around the table all the time and such. So Death Killer War Trikes are acting kind of like the bikers, but instead, they're coming with deep strike, because keep in mind, you should already be pushing these guys back into their own deployment zone. they can kind of come up as that next wave to kind of bait, slow down, lure, distract, whatever it may be. So Death Killer Wartrikes become interesting because
You know about the Death Copters?
yeah, the Death Copters. Sorry, I said Death Killer Wartrike again. Sorry, I'm too hyped up on that gear. I mean the Death Copters. Death Copters are one of those other units that, hey, the first kind of Zod and Grot's go in, then the Death Copters come in and start standing there and getting in the way. And this whole time you're scoring. And then once they've actually destroyed that, disembarked and try to pop your Squig Hog boys, now you stuck in. You've already started killing them and traded them, and you've outscored them in the game, even if they did throttle and murder all your kill units. But speaking of kill units, Knob Scalpel units, they work too well into picking up aggressor blobs in one brick, one shot. But you do need to utilize Here We Go, because in my opinion, in my advice, how 40k works now in this edition, just make sure you're staged. Don't stand in the terrain. He's going to see you, obviously. Stand outside of it. Make sure you pop Here We Go so you get that +2 to advance and charge. That way you can kind of bank on rolling maybe a 6, right? Or whatever it may be. You do have to take that extra threat range of failing to charge, have that CP in the bank, but not getting Overwatch is going to matter a lot greatly. So know that you have that strat in the bank. Don't get too zealous and stand there 2 inches away from these aggressors, knowing you get the charge off, assuming you might be able to soak it up and forgetting everything that happens. No. And you remember, it happens in the movement too. So you really do need to just kind of ride the building once you pop out of that transport, have that strat there, stand there and be like, ooh, if I pre-measure it, okay, this is going to end up being an 8. I already popped, Here We Go. It's a 6 now. That's going to make a huge difference at 2 strat. And then here, go in, because once you do gut out that aggressor unit, or maybe they have an Infernus Marine unit, they're done on their offensive potential for all our other killing stuff, right? So you might have to throw the knobs away in that sense. Throwing stuff away, speaking of Mazrog, right? If you have to as well, try to get them to put their mortal wound potential into Maz, as he's going to be the most durable unit that we have for that. Or setting up their dreadnoughts into him as well. So, like always, Maz is a great lure, distraction, soak up damage, and he has a good profile for picking up a handful of Gravis Marines as he can, right? Maybe you got to get a charge off on an Eradicator unit. Make yourself hard as nails. Eradicators aren't doing great against him still.
Yeah, and if he forces the Space Marine player to use up all his CP early in the game for that
to kill Maz, to kill Maz, take it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's not gutting out their army like that or helping you outscore them. He's there to try to soak up their throttling, and then you murder them. And then speaking of commandos, I think commandos, if maybe you just like using commandos, now you can get really fancy and finessey, right? You can start doing the same thing you're trying to do with Zod and the Grots, but you can do it at a different turn. And you still have the bomb squig. So I love bomb squigs into aggressors and stuff like that, because you don't have to see them. Bam, bam, pops into them. So commandos, mostly because you just ignore it to Overwatch. So you really do get to control their transports and their pre-staging everything, because one of the smart players of them is going to have probably Infernus Marine standing on the open and go, well, Orc player, if you try to move here, I will Overwatch when you get close to my Land Raider, or whatever it is, right? And this is the case where the commandos can just make a line and be like, well, all of that cool transporting shenanigans stuff, stand over there. You can disembark and move through the building and come to the objective, but now you're not playing that shenanigan game anymore. You can either delay the whole turn, or you can get out and kill me and then still lose the game. So whatever. And last but certainly not least is the Grot tanks. So their reactive movement, knowing that these guys are having their reactive movement, will matter. This could be a fun Overwatch unit that you choose to do when they reactively because their reactive movement
is for going in the transport.
Yeah, for going until then. Yeah, so you can just either way.
It's just
flat damage 3. Sorry, activation reactivation is ultimatum. Is great, awesome to have in general, but what I really appreciate them for is their flat damage 3 into Gravis Marines. You really start making them pay whenever they do that, and this is one of the few times that their short 24-inch range isn't so detrimental, because most of the stuff you're targeting is also short range.
Exactly.
So you're not really using the Grot tanks to pop their transports. You can help finish it off, I guess, but you do have to. You're now possibly getting reactive fired, right? So really what happens here is you can kill Blade Guard with this. You kill almost everything that they're going to have on this list that's on infantry on foot is very susceptible to Grot tanks / rockets. So I really pick Grot tanks because they're the best reactive move / movement for our rockets and getting these things off. So love Grot tanks, can be slept on, and I think they should be brought up more. David's already brought that up too all the time, right? But let's speak of some of the final combinations before we end this. The biggest gears to look out for. So tell me about Vulcan Heastan.
Vulcan Heastan is a Salamander's character, and his ability is if he sees you within 24 inches.
See you, that's it?
Yeah, he just has to see you. All Adeptus Astartes models with Torrent and Meltaguns get to reroll wound rolls.
What the heck? Okay, that's quite amazing.
It is.
If they were proxying Volcan Heastain, they ain't trying to win for real with them, right? And I think something that I put in here again, just for redundancy, is the Gravis Captain.
Yes.
He's gonna end up on every list. So just learn his data sheet real quick if he's something a matchup you're gonna see often. Death Company, because I like to sneak in a little bit of Blood Angels in here, like I did with the Ball Predator. They do appreciate getting that higher strength threshold, having +1 to wound. They'll appreciate as well as a whole. And their hand flamers getting that better. Their little melta flamers that they have in their hands. Jump pack Marines in general, I think too. I appreciate getting that other threshold of being able to wound a little better here. So they're all right.
Those two last units, as well as Blade Guard, giving that ignore modifiers to whichever character is leading them is going to be big, because a lot of this is strength 5, or for the aggressors strength 8. And to pop the +1 to wound and not have to worry about Artis nails is almost ensure that they're going to do the damage they're looking to do.
Yeah, if you're playing against an excellent player, they can do stuff to us. I just think it takes an excellent player to do stuff to us. But what about Ragnar and Blood Claws?
All right, so there's a little niche combo if you're facing a Space Wolf player.
Ooh.
So this combo is Ragnar, 10-man Blood Claw unit in a Rhino. You can get the Blood Claws can carry 2 Meltaguns. So that Rhino can advance around, shoot its 2 Meltaguns. That's strength 10 because it's only 12-inch Meltagun. So they'd get the +1 strength, and the Rhino can have a hunter killer muscle.
Okay, so you're just talking about like a baby little gun.
So it could.
But what does the Blood Claws do?
Well, let me explain.
Okay, what's up?
So you pop a truck with some orcs in it, and then the blood. All right. Well, if you got that, I can't say nothing. But this Blood Claw unit is also capable of wiping out whatever unit comes out. It obviously won't be in the same turn.
But what's the strength of the Blood Claw?
The Blood Claws on the charge get +1 strength, +1 attack.
Oh, that's what
so you're looking at 40 strength 5 -1 attacks. And then Ragnar is 10 strength 8 -2 2 damage on the charge as well. Okay. So it's just a lot of attacks that can wipe a unit out.
And they go on a Rhino?
And they can go on a Rhino.
Okay, that's what I thought was
so that's what I'm saying.
Impulsor, be a little too effective.
No, the Rhino, like I said, you can pop Orc Transport, and then something's inside of it that's capable of wiping an Orc unit.
All right, cool. So let's see. Your mic's on.
Yeah, my mic's on.
Yeah, no, let's go. Did it move? Maybe it turned off right now on its own. Is it back now? It wasn't off earlier. He just said it might have turned off now. Hopefully it's back. Well, anyways, that was pretty much the whole summary of all our slides anyway. So we can go back to summarize this up. Hopefully my mic came back. Is it back? It was on.
Yeah, maybe when you adjust it.
Maybe when I adjusted it, I think guys for
saying this a little tight.
Maybe this is a little tight. Maybe I pulled it a little hard. But yeah. As for overall how I feel personally as an Orc player going to Firestorm, not really that worried about it, to be honest. I just thought it'd be interesting to bring it up. Maybe you have some players. I personally appreciate Salamanders as a personal 40k fan, but I don't think this attachment is something that we're going to look out for. They're trying to do combined force of arms, but they're trying to do it as like the last minute stage. So, he said off again. So yeah, I guess maybe it's my mic.
When you're tight on these cables.
Now it's not too good. Well, let's wrap this up. Let's see what's going on with this mic, anyways. Go ahead. So.
But yeah, so we're not really concerned about this detachment, but the one thing that we try to present here today is all the information of what they're capable of, so you don't get in a situation where they get you with these tricky reactive shenanigans and this extra strain and re-rolls from weird sources.
Well, with that being said, I'm gonna get into the chats, and then we're gonna close this one out because we got a very active react. He said, yeah, the beaky mic is broken. All right, let's do this. So I guess the mic's just hanging on us right now. Whoa, it's time for the scream. Let's get it. Let's go. And then I see all the knobs in chat, the mega knobs in chat. Let's see what's here. You have a short in your mic when you fiddle with it cuts out. Okay, yep. He said when we touch the mic, it's fiddling out. So this mic must be just hanging out, dying. What'd you say? What happened here?
We got to upgrade our equipment.
We'll be good with our mics, guys. We'll get them here. I don't see a Gargantuan Squiggles on that list. Only model with 12 damage. Yeah, Gargantuan Squiggles solves all the problems with at least Iron Storm Assault Force, right? I guess you're just going forward like, just running everything over. Right. I can't wait to get my Gargantuan Squiggles. Infernus Marines are all Macho Man Randy Savages.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. And we got a whoa. And then I like this. Look at Mike died. Whoa. All right, guys. I appreciate you guys telling me the beaky mic broken. You guys letting me know. You've shortened your mic. All right, cool. Well, guys. With that being said, that's what we got for this one. Keep in mind, we'll probably have a hobby chat here going forward. Probably Sunday. I'm feeling on Sunday. We'll see how it goes. If not, it'll happen very soon, anyways, because we got to keep up on that. So post your pictures in our Discord, of course, if you're a part of it, and send me your list personally. Send them to me in the PM. Also, send me the list stuff you're able to swap out for that you personally own, and maybe the kind of terrain you run. That way, I know exactly to kind of get you playing with, right?
Yeah. And then also just to remind you guys, we are doing a giveaway since we hit 1,000 subs. Thanks to all of you guys and all your love and support, commenting on the videos, showing up to the live streams. We appreciate it. But we're doing a giveaway of the Beast Snag a Stampede box.
Yeah.
And all you got to do to enter is be a member on YouTube or Patreon, and you'll get entered for a chance to win. And also, top 2 donors, number 1 gets 5 additional entries, number 2 gets 3 additional entries.
Yep. And I'm going to be building my box on stream anyways. I'm one of the hobby ones because I got mine. I needed another kill rig and I need a paint boy. So paint boss. So let's go, you gits.
And I picked up that box today too.
Yep. We got that box. I got my box. So we ready to go, you gits. All right. So you whole wall boys, just keep in mind, I'm gonna be using gas. All right. So no, for real, keep in mind. All right. So one thing to keep in mind, guys, is don't cross our wall because we knock your teeth out. Whoa!